Hi everyone, welcome to Ecole Holt Couture. I'm Couture Holt Camp, and I want to talk to you today about our workbenches or our work tables, and you can see them right here behind me. There's 1 and 2. Now these tables are very important to what we do, and they're also a one-time investment. And we will explain to you what they're made of and how they're covered. And what we use them for is for laying out fabric, for cutting out fabric, for pressing, and for working at. So there's a little video that will explain to you the rough dimensions and what they're made out of, and then there's a slide presentation that goes through how to cover it. And this is our workbench or our cutting tables, and we actually have 2. There's one here, and then in the middle there's a bridge, and then there's one at the far end. And as you can see, they have upon them our irons, our sleeve boards, and you can see our surge bars where we plug in our irons. And although you can't tell from this video, they stand at just about waist height from where I am, which is comfortable to work at. And you can see that we've got storage worked in underneath, and they are padded. So we can use these tables to lay out our fabric, and the fabric doesn't move. Once it's in place, we don't need to weight it down. If you had a slippery surface, you would have to weight corners of the fabric down so it doesn't move. So this prevents any fabric from movement once you have it aligned. And it also serves as our ironing board, our pressing table. And we do quite a lot of pressing. We sew, we press, we sew, we press. So we do it so often that we use the same table for the work that we're doing. And in the slides, it goes into detail the layers of how this table is actually padded. The surface itself of the table is wood. It's solid wood. It's not particle board and it's not plywood. It is solid wood, but it's a softwood. And we use a softwood so that we can stick pins into the tabletop to block items that need to be pressed, or after knitting, you can block things into shape. So basically, the workbenches are where we do most of our work, and you can kind of see that there are some stools that we have underneath, and those stools lower and raise themselves. We don't always have to stand. So these slides show in detail how we make the covering for the work benches or our tabletops. This is the finished product, as you can see. Now this is the raw wood tabletop of our workbenches. As you can see, they don't have any finishing on them. They're completely raw, but they are joined together. And we use softwood lumber for the tabletops so that we can insert pins and they will hold. Now, different types of softwood that you can use are poplar, pine with no knots, or larch. And the idea is to keep the knots, if there are any, on the underside, because you can't put a pin into a knot. And the grain is very, very fine, as you can see. It's not open grained wood, it's fine grained soft wood, as you can see in scale with the pencil. This is the thickness of the tabletops shown from the end. And if I hold a ruler onto that, you can see that it is about 3/4 of an inch thick if you're using imperial, or about 2 centimeters thick if you're using metric scaling. Then the top is layered with several cotton batten sheets. Now they need to be cotton. Sometimes you can get cotton with bamboo. However, bamboo shrinks under the heat of an iron, so avoid that at all costs. And how many layers do you need? Well, you need to pad the top, but you don't want it to be springy. It needs to be soft enough that you can use it as a pressing surface, but not so soft that you can feel it spring under the touch of your fingers. So this is now are the layers spread out evenly. They slightly cover the edges, so they're just covering the edges. And this is a detail of the corner after it has been installed and covered with cotton covering. Now to make the cover, you can use any unbleached cotton or you can use bleached cotton. Whatever you use, make sure that there is no sizing in that material. The sizing is what scorches under the heat of the iron. So if you do have unbleached cotton muslin, which is inexpensive, you can use that. Just wash it before you use it, or you could even use canvas. And I'm talking about duck canvas or sailcloth canvas. Although when you use canvas, it does get a bit coarse, so you have to be careful about the texture as well. So here it shows preparing the cover with a pull cord channel around the edges. So you need to cut that fabric wider and longer than the tabletop, and that it will wrap over the edge and around a little bit. And the edge has a channel built in, if you can see my little cursor there, all around the edge, and mitred joints sewn into the corners. Now here's a detail you can see. It's already been sewn. This is an old one that we've just washed and put back on, but it does show you what it looks like. And now back one step, we've cut the fabric and we've folded it back enough so that it will wrap around the edge of the table, and we're prepared a channel for the cord to go through it, and it's just pinned at this point. We're going to sew it. And here we are cutting away the edges of the channel itself and having enough fabric to wrap back in itself. Now you will figure out this when you do it yourself. It's harder to explain than actually to go through the motions and do it. If you just turn the whole thing back on the mitred joints, you'll find that you don't have an opening for the channel. So here we are preparing for the channel. You can see it's folded back, and this is what I wanted to show you. So we have the seam at the corner, and we also have a pencil here showing you that there is a free channel space that comes out and then returns around the corner. And here is a detail of the corners that have been reinforced. Now it's sewn, this goes around the corner and under, and then this is open a little bit of a slit, and here you can see this is where we're going to insert the cord and it's going to come out. If we didn't have that reinforcement, the stretch and the stress that you place on that fabric as you upholster the table sometimes rips at that corner. And this is the finished side looking at it from the outside. And here now it's all sewn all the way around and we're ready to cover the table. But first we need to pull a cord through the channel, and you need a cord that's long enough to go around the four edges and then a little bit so that you have some length to tie it with. Now you need to pull that cord through somehow, and what we use quite simply is a safety pin, and the cord has been tied around the end of the safety pin to pull it through, but you can use a bodkin bodkins don't normally have holes in them that are large enough to accept a cord. Some do, some don't. But bodkins or safety pins work just as well. And here you can see we are we're inserting the safety pin into one end of the channel, and we're going to pull that all the way through. Now we're advancing that safety pin with the cord through the channel a little bit at a time. Now think of this as an inchworm. Same process. You do a little bit at a time and the fabric will start gathering up behind itself. By the time you have the cord pulled through, your fabric will have gathered up quite a lot. And in this gathering, it also uses up channel space. So if you don't sew the channel wide enough, then you won't have enough space to pull that cord through. Now here we have a length of cord at one end ready to pull. Make sure you don't pull that out as you go through. And here you see it's coming out at the corner. Now here you can see again how that fabric gathers up on itself as you pull the cord through. So you need to have a channel that is sewn wider than the cord is thick. Here you can see it is about 4 times wider. It probably would work with a little less, but this works quite well. And now here we have a detail of the corner with the cord through, and that is tightening the cover all the way around the table. And we have tied it at the corner and secured it to the table leg actually. And that will hold that cover in place no matter what you do with the table itself. That's a finished corner detail. And that is our covered workbenches ready to use for laying fabric out, for cutting fabric, for cutting our pieces, for pressing, for hand sewing. We use this table 90% of the time. And it is padded slightly so that we can use it for pressing, and it will last as long as you don't cut into it. And if you refer to my video on scissors and shears, it will explain to you how and why we use certain edges of the blade to cut on this table. It's good to have a table or a workbench that you can do everything at without having to move around. Now if you have a larger studio with more people doing different types of work, you might have separate worktops. But if you can only have one that needs to do everything, this is the table for you.